I'd like to open the meeting to the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the service and also for the wonderful readings. Tonight, I would like to say how grateful I am to my practitioner who helped me in prayer before, during, and after a trip to New England to celebrate a family member's graduation last Friday. I was a passenger, and these prayers enabled me to remain calm through heavy traffic, road construction, and high speeds. I remained joyous but poised while encountering lots of people and conversation. Everything flowed smoothly, and we returned home before it started to snow. I was also able to read from my phone to prepare for the Bible study to be on Saturday. That was icing on the cake. This was an experience of getting out of the way and seeing God rule, praying in spirit and in truth. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you for the beautiful readings. I want to express my gratitude to Plainfield, who offers the gift of a true understanding of Christmas. Before coming here, I had begun to simplify my life, which also included activities around Christmas. I had really needed to make changes in my life, and I could no longer approach this season in a mad rush. The changes were better, but it did not satisfy the longing for peace and joy I was searching for. The difference that I'm finding here is from the tools that are taught to purify your life and thought through the Bible and Mrs. Eddy's writings. The understanding of true Christmas that I am gaining here is helping me from getting caught up in the pressure and busy activity connected with this time. For so many years, I suffered mentally and physically around the holiday, not realizing it was due to a lack of awareness of my state of thinking and choices. In fact, I am shocked of how unaware I was of being drawn into the current of thinking that was separating me from God, not bringing me closer. Often what seemed like a tradition of giving and fun really was based on fear, and most of the time there was no God in it. These new changes have been a process of attending the classes offered here and getting practitioner support. One of the greatest impacts for me is working on healing the habit of people-pleasing, which played a big part in my decisions over the holidays. I am glad to have learned the importance of guarding your time with God and your work for Him. The gift of quiet, peace, and stillness is there for all to have now. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Good evening. Recently, I was doing some accounting and discovered that an essential document was missing. I proceeded to methodically go through the full years of documents with no success. The November statement was not there. It was already late in the day, so I thought that its location would be revealed to me. I went to bed, and sometime during the night I awakened, and the awakening message was, "Look on the computer table in the bedroom." Instead of getting up and checking the message, I went back to sleep, knowing that it had to be a correct answer. The next morning, after my usual morning study, I checked on the night message, and there was the document. So I immediately burst out aloud, "Thank you, Shepherd. This was a blessing to me, and I'm filled with gratitude. Thank you."
Thank you. Jeremy.
I'm so grateful to Christian Science for showing me how Christ's Christianity is not a passive get-out-of-jail card, but an active science that is to be lived and proved. I'm grateful to this wonderful church for showing me how to take that act of science and use it to achieve this God-given purpose in our mission for mankind. I'm grateful to my practitioner for guiding me along the way through words and example so that I avoid the many traps that have come up these past few years. I feel every couple days that I am learning something new and maybe something I should have already known, and she is continually patient with me. Grateful to all the members of this church for being united and consistent in this holy work, which makes this journey that much clearer and gives me hope and strength every day. It's amazing to witness how each of us working together, so much gets done. I'm grateful to Christ Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy, who achieved so much, even in times when they were humanly alone in their work. God was always with them. Their irreplaceable work and example becomes more astounding and inspiring the longer I learn and study about it. I'm grateful to God for showing me that I wasn't worthless, but that there were so many blessings waiting for me. This wonderful life and purpose He has given me is better than the best life I could have imagined, but it is real and lasting and so much more than I knew to hope for. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth from Georgia, go ahead.
A few weeks ago, I had a get-together with some friends. I dearly love these friends, but after meeting with them, I found a not-so-nice feeling creeping into my thought, envy. I realized that I was wishing I could be in their shoes for various reasons. I could have let this thought fester, but I'm glad I didn't, and this is due to the teaching that I've learned here and then putting it into practice. I knew I needed to handle this little serpent, which was trying to take my thought away from God. So I began with quietly asking God to forgive me for being ungrateful, and then thanking Him for all the good that He is supplying every moment for me and for everyone else. I also knew that I can rejoice in another's good because it comes from God, and so it's available for everyone. And to know that God created each of us for a holy purpose, since we are all His sons and daughters, and that purpose is continually unfolding. As was read from Science and Health tonight, there is but one creation. This creation consists of the unfolding of spiritual ideas and their identities, which are embraced in the infinite mind and forever reflected. I'm grateful to say this envious thought was stamped out pretty quickly. I felt such love for these friends and genuine happiness for their experiences. Thank you, and thank you for the reading.
Thank you. Day from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm thankful for learning that I need to be in control of my feelings in order to be of good service. To me, this means paying closer attention to how I'm feeling moment by moment. I've realized that when I allow myself to be offended or angered easily, or when I hold on to any wrong feeling for too long, I'm wasting the time that I could be spending praying, thanking God, or doing whatever good thing He's telling me to do. I realize that I'm not becoming offended very often, and it has become much easier for me to get over anger very quickly by getting my thought back to God, and even laughing it off sometimes. I'm truly enjoying the freedom felt when going about my business and being productive as I should, when everything is telling me that I should be upset or down about something. I'm so grateful for the freedom that I'm gaining, which allows me to be a better worker for God. Thank you so much for tonight's meeting and for all the testimonies.
Thank you. Karen from Kansas, go ahead.
Last Thursday, my husband, my daughter, and I went to Manhattan. In Kansas, we call that the Little Apple. Anyway, we went to go shopping for people, and my daughter didn't feel well. She hadn't slept at night, and I had called a Christian Science practitioner and she knows that my daughter's not a Christian Scientist, and prayed for us. Anyway, my daughter felt so good and the whole time, and she was very helpful with the shopping. And when we came home, Christy had left the Saturday Bible questions and the Saturday watch on my chair. She always brings me the watches when she can, because she has an internet and we don't. And I am so grateful for all that I'm learning here in the Plainfield Church, for a top-notch Christian Science practitioner. I'm fighting her sometimes, I know, but I know she's good, and I need her. Anyway, I had such a hard time accepting this Christmas, and I was always thinking, I don't need this and I don't need that. I just want to run away from Christmas. Anyway, because Christy helped me so much with all my shopping, we got everything done, and I want to thank the practitioner so much, and also for the field, whom I love as my brothers and sisters. And I wish you all a blessed and peaceful Christmas.
Thank you. Yeah, this is Bruce. I'm so grateful for Christian Science that clarifies so much about Christmas time. I'm grateful for this wonderful independent church that we have. In our magazine, Love is the Liberator, there's a passage from Pulpit and Press by Mary Baker Eddy, and it goes like this. Our land had its pilgrims. They planted a nation's heart, the rights of conscience, imperishable glory. And then she goes on to say that no dream of avarice or ambition broke their exalted purpose. And that really touched me, to think that they didn't have any sense of uncontrolled ambition that would break them away from their exalted purpose. And I felt that there was something that I need to be more consistent and disciplined with for me. I had an experience, this was a couple years ago, but it still sticks with me. I was on my way home, and happened to be, I think, Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas, and all of a sudden I got this impulse, let's just pull in here to this store and just look around. And there was 2 entrances into the shopping center, and I looked at the first one and I saw the lineup of cars, and I thought, let's try the other one. Well, that one got me in, but as soon as I got into the parking lot, I saw that it was just gridlock, no cars were moving, and I couldn't even get close to the store that I thought I was thinking about going to. And I realized that I let some impulse of ambition carry me away to do something that really wasn't my right place. So here I was in the middle of the parking lot, gridlock, not moving, and just apologizing to God for not listening to Him, because I most certainly didn't. And I also said, Dear God, I'll gladly accept any experience that you feel I need to have to drive this lesson home, because I want to be your image and likeness and be in your service and nowhere else. And it wasn't too long after that I said that prayer. I didn't care how long I waited in that parking lot. Just let me learn the lesson. I was at a place where I wanted to turn left, and there was a lot of traffic, and they weren't letting anybody turn left, and I started nosing my car in there to give them the message, and next thing you know, this one guy rolled down his window, waved his hand, and said, go ahead, and Merry Christmas. I wanted to get out of my car and give that guy a hug right then and there, except I didn't, but maybe hopefully mentally he got the message. But not only that, I just found myself on my knees thanking our loving Father, Mother, God, and thanking Him for His forgiveness, because I felt that He was saying, okay, I heard your prayer and I forgive you, but learn the lesson. And then I was able to get out of that parking lot and be back on my way home, which is where I really needed to go and be. So I was very grateful for this experience. And one of the things that helped remind me was in the lesson this week where it talked about Jesus, where he said he was always about his Father's business. And I need to follow his example a little better. And the other thing was the example of Mary, who pondered the sayings in her heart, who heard Jesus say, I needed to be about my Father's business. And she kept the saying in her heart. And if I would keep the things that mattered most in my heart, then I wouldn't have fallen for this. So that's my lesson. I'm passing that on to everybody else. I'm so thankful for God and the wonderful lessons that we have to learn here. It's quite a wonderful thing. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead.
Thank you. I want to express my enduring gratitude for all the exposure I'm given by Plainfield to correct Christian Science living. Last week, I took a short trip to the city I grew up in. Though all of my immediate family have passed on, I had wonderful visits with niece, nephews, cousins, and old friends. And having learned from Plainfield to travel well is to take a blessing. And I kept that in my heart, and it therefore proved to be a most harmonious time, more than ever. I asked God to lead me as to whom to call and see when and with whom. Each visit I had was fulfilling. I have returned with a sense of peace and joy in my heart, time not just for worldly partying I had there, but mostly genuine interactions, separately, one with another. So I have returned with a happy sense of peace and joy, and I'm also very happy to be back home at Plainfield. And thank you very much for this beautiful service.
Thank you. Mike from New York, go ahead.
Thank you very much for this beautiful service. I'm so grateful. Last winter I was enjoying my first beautiful day of skiing in Colorado. Everything was just fine, and then I was hit with a wave of overwhelming nausea. I knew that I had to stand up against this falsehood in all ways. I was able to overcome the worst of it by holding to the allness of God and skied back to my lodging. Since I wasn't completely free of all negative sensations, I called my Plainfield practitioner for assistance, which was very beneficial. My practitioner had me work with knowing that all false claims are not of God, a lie, and thus nothing. Also to know that everything God created is permanent, finished, and done. While I knew this intellectually, somehow I didn't seem to be able to imbibe the Spirit. Along the way, I realized a couple of things. One was that this error wasn't something that just happened that day, but was a result of long-held wrong beliefs. The other thing I found was that it definitely was of mental origin because it had little to do with physical activity. And when I'd have a recurrence, there would often be an outside issue that would become known to me after I'd felt poorly and had to do emergency work. I'm so grateful for that illumination because then every time I would start to feel a bit down, I would get to work for harmony on a broader scale. Being somewhat frustrated as things seemed to be more roller coaster, and I couldn't seem to shake a sense of fear completely. My practitioner explained to me I needed to write all these truths being given to me into my heart. That finally clicked in because one of my favorite passages in Science and Health is things should be written in the heart with the point of a diamond and the pen of an angel. From that, progress increased dramatically. Even though I knew Mrs. Edding, my practitioner, meant heart is spiritual, I wondered if I was taking it too literally and should be writing these things into my consciousness instead of heart. I went back to our textbook to read exactly how Mrs. Eddy had written the phrase, "Find," she states, which should be engraved on the understanding and heart with the point of a diamond and the pen of an angel. Just correcting that seemingly minor misquote has changed my life. All the nonsense I've been entertaining for all these months dropped away literally overnight. I'm so grateful, of course, to God for His grace through all this, and His two luminaries, Christ Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy. I'm so grateful for my practitioner's patience and being there always when needed, guiding me to a better understanding of Christian Science. I'm so grateful for all of Plainfield's activities because there was always something I needed at that moment brought out in a roundtable, Bible study, testimony watch, etc., that helped weave God's victory over this error. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. Lil.
I'm grateful for practitioner help in learning to take one day at a time, listening for God's direction in everything that I do. This is obeying God's unfoldment, since all is already completed in mind. His plan is perfect for me and everyone right now. In being obedient, all will be done in the right time, and we'll keep ourselves in God's love now and forever. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
Thank you. Amanda from Missouri. Missouri, go ahead.
Thank you. Tonight I would like to share my gratitude for this church, its members, practitioners, and all that I'm starting to understand about what Mrs. Eddy's discovery of Christian Science really is. And I would like to share a testimony about an experience that has happened in the past year that I attribute to Christian Science and its practical application that I am learning about with help from this church. One particular evening when I came home from work, I noticed that one of my usually active and vocal dogs was not himself. And I couldn't tell exactly what was wrong, but something was indeed not right, and he seemed to be very uncomfortable. I was instantly very afraid, and I stood outside feeling the effects of fear trying to overcome me physically and mentally. And then a realization kicked in that it did not need to be this way. I remembered a statement that one of the practitioners in this church has said that we should all keep in our arsenal, and I thank her. It's from Isaiah, and part of it is, "Fear thou not, for I am with thee." And I found that without even realizing it, I was standing outside with this dog saying this statement out loud. And while I still had some fearful thoughts that kept coming, I felt remarkably calmer and up to the challenge of what seemed to be going on. I continued to do some reading throughout the night, and in the morning I felt things were well enough to go to work, but my mother had said she would come by to look in on him. In the afternoon I called her, and she said that she was sitting with him, and that while he seemed to be okay overall, he was clearly not himself, and that it would be a wise idea for me to come home. Part of me wanted to run out of my office and speed home, but I'm grateful for the developing understanding that instead of panic, there is another way. I really did not want to hurry home fretting about this dear dog all the way and expect to come home to find an unwell dog. I knew that this was not doing the work that we are asked to do. So to keep my thought calm on the drive home, I started listening to a roundtable that had recently taken place at that time, as I was really having a hard time keeping my thought calm and clear. But I did know I had to stand up to this bully and this awful sense of fear. During the roundtable at that time, I believe it was one of our practitioners, and again I thank her, who read from page 247 of Miscellany by Mary Baker Eddy, and I'll read just a brief part of it. "Put on the robes of Christ, and you will be lifted up, and will draw all men unto you. The little fishes in my fountain must have felt me when I stood silently beside it, for they came out in orderly line to the rim where I stood. Then I fed these sweet little thoughts that, not fearing me, sought their food of me. God has called you to be a fisher of men." Well, I don't know exactly what happened while I listened to this, but I think I understood a tiny glimpse of what Mrs. Eddy was writing, because I felt such a strong sense of peace about this situation and about this dear and sweet idea of God, his safety and his wellness. But I also understood my duty as well to feed him with truth, the understanding of his perfection and his safety. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I felt quite calm. And as I pulled in the garage, I noticed he was in his usual spot at the window. And when I came in, he was in his usual spot at home, appearing normal in every way. My mother, who'd been sitting on the couch with him, said that as soon as he heard me pull in the driveway, he jumped off the couch and went to the window without any limited movement or signs of the extreme discomfort he'd been in before. By dinner time that evening, if not before, he was completely well and was back to normal. I am so very grateful for this demonstration, and thank you very much for tonight's service and the opportunity to share.
Thank you. Craig.
I thank the testifiers and the readings today, and I was very grateful for the readings that we have over the holidays. I was reading the Christmas sermon by Mary Baker Eddy from What Christmas Means to Me booklet, and I realized that I don't go through all those ups and downs that I used to go through. I thank God for that. I spend so much time worrying about in a down state that, and then another time worrying about it or walking into something unwary in an up state that I don't think I got that much done. It was of much help to many people. And I started thinking about how great it is that to really understand through her works, or better understand, what Christmas means and how Christ, the divine manifestation of God, comes to the flesh to destroy incarnate error, truly still is here to do that. And actually, how important it is to work to have some progress toward that in our lives, and to really appreciate that. God has always been God, and as Jesus Christ said, truth is always eternal. And if God said something in the past, it's the truth now, and it's be the truth forever. It's always there to help. To have that promise that there's always there to help throughout all time, and have the example of how to exercise that help is tremendous. And I can see how it keeps me from having those ups and downs as long as I keep remembering that God has an answer in every situation, heals, progresses, and I thank you. It made me feel better about this holiday and feeling that I could commemorate it properly. I thank God for Mary Baker Eddy.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks everyone who has given a testimony so far. And thanks for the readings for tonight, the music and the atmosphere that we all share. Thank God for the emphasis and constant reminders to watch our thinking. This is so vital because that constant watching reminds me of how all are one, meaning the same sort of claims come to everyone. They tempt us all and make us all frightened at times and so on. And how important it is to keep my light shining by maintaining that pure consciousness as much as possible. Because when I am lifted in thought, I'm able to notice when someone is burdened. Today, an example was I was in a very big market, very busy, everybody, people rushing around and so on. And I, for the first time in a long time, the owner of this very big market was walking towards me. Somehow, he came walking towards me. I kind of noticed his face was sullen. He was just looking, kind of like disturbed or upset or something. And immediately the thought that came to me was, Hail, Son of God, like we've been taught here to, greet people in thought with. For the first time in so many years, somehow he made eye contact with me, and as he passed by, he smiled. And I just trusted that God must have sent him an angel message that touched him. I am so grateful that we are taught to learn the desire to help others. It is so important because I know how I used to feel when everything seemed to be going down. When I saw anyone just smile, it gave me hope. And I'm so grateful that here in this church we are reminded always that Christian Science is more than just our physical healings and comfort, to think of others, to love out, to care, to pray for others, and so on. So I just want to express my deepest gratitude for what is going on at Plainfield here, and for all the members everywhere, here and abroad, wherever they are, and the thought that they bring into our meetings, and the desire to bless the world with this holy mission. Thanks very much for all that are gathered here tonight, and thanks for the meeting.
Thank you. Mary.
I have a few letters to read tonight, as well as comments from our church website bulletin board. This is from California. Dear friends, thank you so very much for the beautiful Christmas card and enclosed pamphlet entitled Hints on Healing by Reverend Frankie Mason, CSB. Best Christmas gift. Enclosed is my contribution. And then from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much for the November 2016 edition of Love is the Liberator. It was brilliant and a big help. It definitely precipitated spiritual growth exceedingly abundantly. What a wonderful gift. And then Virginia, today's Bible discussion on what happened after Jesus fed the multitude filled in the context and brought the divine plan of the events alive. Gratitude to Betty for the questions and to everyone who answered them with love, humility, and insight that communicated itself across the airwaves. I am grateful for this community Bible study. And then from our church website bulletin board, Pennsylvania, I would like to express my gratitude for the Wednesday evening testimony readings that we are privileged to enjoy. And indeed, if we have ear to hear, to take in for our own spiritual growth. Every week it seems that this week is the most outstanding. That is because every week the readings are the most outstanding. Thank you for the love and spiritual understanding that produces such marvelous readings. And then Virginia, thank you for the many inspiring Christmas messages featured on the home page of this website. A big help during this holy season, and especially precious is the latest, Mary by Martha Wilcox. Thank you, everyone, for the beautiful testimonies tonight and those beautiful readings that are so important right now, that we gather together in unity and in love for the brethren, for each other, for we are truly brothers and sisters in Christ. I too am grateful for our website and those beautiful Christmas articles, and that one particularly about Mary. I usually testify about it every year, but that Martha Wilcox brings out the fact a small group of metaphysical thinkers at that time in the Roman Empire, a dark night of materialism, their pure thought, their prayerful thought, and of course especially with Mary, brought forth the Christ. And it's just quite a beautiful story. And thank God here in science we have that right understanding of it, and that Christ is with us, ever present, right here, right now. I've heard some people mention, and myself included, that perhaps the nights have been restless or difficult, hard to sleep. And this morning in the book Watches, Prayers, and Arguments by Mrs. Eddy, I turned to this on page 42. She says, when you lie down to sleep, know that you have self-control and that the everlasting arms are about you, and nothing can intrude into your quiet sanctuary, your peace and rest. You say you cannot sleep. Why not rather say you rest in God, who does not sleep? You need no sleep. Realize this, and the fear that you will not sleep will disappear, and you will sleep. It is the assurance of knowing that makes us the master of the situation. I thought that was such a beautiful thought, and we all must know that we are resting in God's love, and that He does give His beloved peace and sleep. And as we are nearing Christmas, we look forward to our beautiful Christmas service, and just to keep ourselves in the love of God, to feel His presence and power, and to express that Christ to all that we meet, to be a blessing, as Florence so beautifully said. That certainly is our purpose. So grateful to be with you all tonight.
Thank you.